The Insight NBA team is in the arena, bringing you the ultimate play-by-play on who's hot and who's not to help you win your leagues and dominate your mates. You're now hooping with your hosts, Matty G, Skitty, and Mally for the Insight NBA show.
G'day everyone and welcome to the Insight NBA show. I am your host, Matty G. You can find me at NBA GWiz on X, and we, Insight, are at Insight FS on all the things. Make sure you like and subscribe. And talking about subscribing, if you haven't done it yet and you are on YouTube or even on one of your music podcast platforms or things that you listen to us on, make sure you hit the notifications right now. Look at all those analytics and sidebobby things. They're like, you know what? People are finding you and they're subscribing, and some aren't, but they're still getting the notifications that we're on. Hit the bell down below. Make sure you get notified when all of our content comes up. We are dropping almost daily content for the NBA right throughout the course of the season. And this one is the Week 4 preview show. Look, before we can get down to the preview, like I said, welcome to hell. This is the time of year where injuries start to knock. Look, they've been around since the beginning of the season, but the biggest news in the NBA today is two of our most premium stars in Kevin Durant and Zion Williamson have sustained injuries. KD will be out at least a couple of weeks, and Zion is out indefinitely. Do you remember that remember that night you were out drinking and you met that really great girl at the bar and you gave her your number and she smiled and you thought that she was going to call you soon and or text you, and it went a few days and you hadn't heard anything. Yeah, that's what the indefinitely tag is like in the NBA. Because we don't know how long it's going to take. Now, look, she does. She gets back to you in 2-3 weeks. She's busy. She went overseas. She had a thing. She was breaking up with her ex. I don't care what these injury reasons are for her or for him. If that's what you're into, I don't care. But what I can say is the indefinite tag is not a good one. And that's the kind of label that gets thrown around with injured stars like Kawhi Leonard. And it's Week 4 in the NBA. And we still are yet to see a peep out of him. So let's be monitoring that situation. And let's break down that and all of the ads and the guess you could say streaming implications for Week 4 and beyond. And I guess one of the best ways to do that is get to the injury update, and then we're going to break down the schedule. So let's get to the injuries. Over in Atlanta, we're going to work our way through A to Z, or at least A down through to the bottom letters down in Washington, because there is no team in Vancouver. I don't even know if that's a real place. It's not a real place. I can't make it up. DeAndre Hunter is still out for the Atlanta Hawks. He is being questionable. He missed Saturday's game. He came back in. So we can look to get some value out of him. They're running along. The biggest beneficiary lately has been Ricochet, in my opinion, especially with Bogey out. He's been playing well. I've put some Ricochet stock in, and I'm all on it now. So if you've got a spot on your roster and you can work that, I'd be getting in on Ricochet. I think he's playing really well. He's looking really cohesive with that unit. So he's definitely a guy that's on some waiver wires, and you can pick him up. And if he's there in deeper formats, 100% you get into it. Now, JB over in Boston missed the game on Friday. He's going to be coming back. He's questionable for the Bucks game on Sunday, which means he should be looking good into week number 4. And Cornette and Springer are questionable for that one as well. But probably Luke Cornette, the unit Cornette, is what we're probably looking for in Week 4, if anything, from the Boston Celtics. Ben Simmons in Brooklyn, he missed Saturday's game, back-to-back set. We know what to expect, but we can look to continue to stream him for an excellent field goal percentage because he doesn't like taking shots that he misses, which is good for your field goal percentage. He rebounds, he gets assists, and he can add some defensive numbers there. And he is absolutely petrified of going to the free throw line. So he's probably not going to take you there. If he does, he will. But it's only going to be minimum, and you can make that one on back. Over in Charlotte, Miles Bridges has a bone bruise. He's going to be reevaluated in a couple of weeks' time. Like Nick Richards as well, he's been injured, the big fella. Now, he had like a bit of a contusion under like a rib cartilage fracture. He's going to be reevaluated in, I think, in the end of their road trip. So that's looking like the 18th, 19th of November, because my partner's birthday is the 15th, so a couple of days onto that bad boy. Yeah, we're probably looking at in Week 5 early on before we get an update on Nick Richards, so we can keep on moving around there. Grant Williams has obviously been the biggest beneficiary in Charlotte, and we can look to use him where the Hornets have a game, and we can fit him into our schedules. In Chicago, Torrey Craig has missed a couple of games with an illness. Lonzo Ball, he was out. I watched that game today, the Hawks and Bulls game. Dalen Terry and Dosunmu would be the two guys there. Now, Jalen Smith, we all know, hopefully, Vucevic, he's playing really well, though. So the better he plays, the less Sticks plays. But Dalen Terry fitted really well into this team. Paddy Williams also getting some burn for the ball. So let's use those guys where we can and if permitted. Everything's traveling well in Cleveland. Of course, it's traveling in well. They are 11 and freaking oh, man. They look absolutely brilliant. Also sitting down with this one, the Dallas Mavericks. Now, Luka was questionable right there for Sunday's game. And we've got Kleber, PJ Washington as well, and Derek Lively. Now, they're doubtful. So there is some value for the Dallas Mavericks. I'm going to touch on them very, very soon, because they are one of the interesting teams that we can look to get a bit of an advantage in week 4. Now, week 4, when we have a look at that schedule, and that's going to come up in that weekly preview very soon, it's a bit of a hectic one to make our way through. And it's all because of the way the games are spaced out. But there are options for the Mavericks, and I like them a lot. In Denver, Aaron Gordon has missed with the calf strain. He's going to be evaluated in a couple of weeks' time. And we all know that the biggest one there that we can see is being Peyton Watson for an absolute ad. Jalen Duren missed Friday games with the Pistons. He's going to be making his way back into the lineup for 4. So that's a big sigh of relief for all of our Jalen Duren owners. Or like me, you just like to get a bunch of Jalens into your team. Golden State, there are no problems there. They've made themselves back into the healthy books, especially with Steph Curry coming back. Houston, injury management. Adams has been out. Let's look to get that where we can in week number 4. In Indiana, we can say Obi Toppin, Nembhard, and Toppin, and TJ McConnell are all doubtful for Sunday, probably because the Pacers don't want to get pantsed in the NBA Cup again this year, and they want to make a deep run, and they're just saving it for week 4 as far as I'm concerned. I know that they have a bit of skin in the game for the NBA Cup this year. Tyrese Halliburton's spoken about it, and it is week 4. It is Cup week. So they are going to make an absolute run at that one. The Clippers, there's no injury news there apart from, well, what I mentioned earlier, the indefinite thing about Kawhi Leonard. He is still out. Now, it's week 4 now. There's no sign or time on him coming through, but Kawhi looks to be coming back maybe December. Now, by the time you think about that, that's at least 8 weeks out there. So those Zion Williamson people, similar tag. I'm not saying it's the same situation, but when it's Zion, a guy we know has an injury past, we do have these concerns about him. A good year last year for him, and now this indefinite tag. If he's going to miss 10 or 12 games at least, it's a lot of games, and you've got to be thinking what you can do to him and with him there. Because I'll tell you now, I'll skip down to the Timberwolves. The Pelicans. Jordan Hawkins, he's going to miss a couple of weeks. He was on fire. Jose Alvarado has been the number 1 ad there. I'm just going to touch on the Pels while we're talking about Zion. But the other main beneficiary here is Trey Murphy III. He is now healthy. Thank goodness. Hallelujah. Those who have high Trey Murphy stocks like myself and took him at an absolute bargain basement on draft day are very much looking forward to reactivating him into our lineups. Make sure if you do have him in an IL spot, you activate him with especially the Zion news. Let's say he's ramped up and he's good to go straight away. I don't know if there's going to be much of a minutes limit placed on him. DeJounte Murray's out. CJ McConnell's out. Jordan Hawkins is out. Jose Alvarado's show. Brandon Ingram is going to contend. Messi has been in and out of the lineup, not playing well. So there's definitely a role for Trey Murphy to come back and get a whole bunch of minutes and a whole bunch of points and absolutely live up to his preseason expectations, in my opinion. Back up to this one, into the Lakers, back up to L. We've still got Jared Vanderbilt and Christian Wood making their way out. They have no timetables for return. There's no updates on them. Again, it's kind of like indefinite. It's like we know that they're closer, but they're not indefinite, but they're definitely maybe coming back soon. Looking next door down into Memphis, we've got Ja Morant. He is going to be out for at least this week. It's a week-to-week thing. So let's just say week 4, Ja Morant's out. Scottie Pippen Jr., if you haven't picked him up already, he was already an ad with Bane being out, in my opinion. He'd moved into being absolutely rosterable in 12 teams before this injury. Now it's insane if he is sitting on your waiver wire. Run, don't walk, and pick up him. Desmond Bane is going to be a couple of weeks out, probably with the oblique injury, no more than 2, I would say. And Marcus Smart is questionable for Sunday, hopefully making his way back into that lineup again. He'll be a bit of a beneficiary of that Ja Morant absence as well. In Miami, Butler left Friday's game with a sprained ankle and didn't return. Now, he's been out for Sunday's game. It could be a bit of a buy low option on him. He's played really well lately. It's Butler buy low. It's like he already had low draft stock. And if someone's wasted like a 50th pick on him and he's down there, you might actually be able to get a really good price on Jimmy Butler in a trade. So let's look to see what we can get for big Jimmy Butler. In Milwaukee, Gary Trent Jr. and Andre Jackson Jr., they're going to be possibly playing Sunday's game. If they don't play Sunday's game, they're probably going to be resting and good for week 4. So we'll definitely pick up probably more Gary Trent Jr., who's been a bit of a disappointment so far this year in Milwaukee. More of a stream option, absolutely there. Minnesota, nothing going on but the rent, and they're same too with the Oklahoma City Thunder. All has been good. In New York, though, Cam Payne and Miles McBride, again, they are questionable for Sunday. I would say that Miles McBride is probably the one they want to rush back in here. I've liked Miles McBride more in the lineup. Again, had a couple of blistering games to start the season, has cooled, has been dropped. But when you can, we always look to bring Deuce in if we're looking for that source of points, threes, and a couple of assists off the bench at a really good clip. In Orlando, or Wendell Carter Jr., Big CJ, Big WCJ. Now, we know he's been injured and Gogo Badadze has absolutely been the ad. This is a similar situation with what happened to the big fella last year. He's got that plantar fasciitis. Now, Wendell Carter Jr. was dropped in a lot of places last year, and deservedly so. He is out right now. It's a logjam in the center there for the Orlando Magic. We've got Gogo Badadze. We've got, obviously, WCJ, who I'm talking about, and Mo Wagner. And he's been playing great as the backup. And this is the exact same situation. And last year it was weird. When WCJ came back in, it was like Gogo went out of the rotation permanently, but Mo was still the backup. So it's kind of almost sell high on the Gogo situation, because in Orlando, he's going to be out with that plantar fasciitis. He might come back. He might come back in. Maybe if he's on the wire in week 4, we look to bring him in when possible. If we get word, if we have an instant ad, if we don't have to bid for him, we can just bring him in for the lineup with the Magic if there's a possibility. And we'll talk about the Magic a little bit more later on as well. In Philadelphia, Tyrese Maxey is out for a couple of weeks. An absolutely injury shit show season for the Philadelphia 76ers so far. And into Phoenix, as I said earlier, the biggest news coming out of there today was that Kevin Durant is going to miss at least 2 weeks. Now, this isn't good news because this whole calf strain thing could linger on for him. Like, we know they're going to take it easy on KD. Nurkic has been out. He's coming back maybe on Sunday. Like, he's got the questionable tag. Join him. The big guys that I'm looking there for are Grayson Allen, I think, who has the tenured role. Now, the other one is Ryan Dunn. I really like what Ryan Dunn is doing as a rookie. I think he's playing really, really well. I'm in a couple of 200-person leagues, 20 teams, 10 people rosters. And Ryan Dunn, I had a little bit of a look today, he's already taken a both. So he hasn't just been picked up. He's already been inactive in deeper formats. So if you're in a similar format and Ryan Dunn is available, I think he is definitely like, let's grab him and see where that can go. Because I think Ryan Dunn has definitely fringe value, definitely 14-team appeal. 12 teams, it's probably Grayson Allen. It's now that I'm saying it out loud, it might bite me, but we saw how good he was last year. They need him to be the 23-24 version of Grayson Allen with KD being out. They're playing well. They're really doing well in the Western Conference, but Grayson Allen getting into that role and getting some of those relief minutes is probably absolutely essential at this point in time for Phoenix. And I think we can get some value there. Everything is smooth sailing over in Portland and Sacramento. In San Antonio as well, Trey Jones is out as well as Jeremy Sohan. Now, the fractured thumb, that can take a little bit of a while. I've got a fractured wrist right now. It's 4 to 6 weeks, fractured thumb. Look, he can still shoot his free throws with one hand. That's all I'm saying. Hopefully no more than a month out for Jeremy Sohan. Whereas in Utah, Keontae George. Now, that missed Saturday's game. I really needed him. I've got him. I needed him some points, a couple of threes and assists. Now, he missed it with foot soreness. Let's just hope that clears up for the week that's coming up, because the Jazz is an interesting team that we're going to talk about very soon. In Washington, Bub Carrington is questionable. Our boy, Bubby, hashtag Chub for Bub. Shout out to D-Mac, NBA Fantasy Bubble, and, of course, my homeboy, love you, Skitty. We are very big Bub Carrington fans. Continues there. Kaishan George has been a great ad over in Washington as well, with Kyle Kuzma being out. And that's pretty much what we're looking at there with that groin strain with Kyle Kuzma. For me, Bub Carrington being out it's a wrist injury. I haven't got any more. It's a contusion. I've got one. It's a fracture. And I've been out 4 to 6. So I think Bub is just going to maybe miss a couple games in week 4, but I definitely think Kaishan George has been the guy to pick up there in Washington. With that all being said, that's the injury update, including waiver targets that we're looking at. let's get down to our weekly preview.
He's heating up.
All right, now it's a bit of a frisky one, so I'm going to go through it and see how I see it. Now, not everyone always agrees with me, that's fine, but at the end of the day, the numbers in the games you can play only align to a certain amount of time, and let's break it down like this with the weekly schedule. Monday, 5, Tuesday, 8, Wednesday, 11, Thursday, 1 game. Friday, heavy schedule, that's 12. 5 again on Saturday, 10 on Sunday. So that's 5, 8, 11, 1, 12, 5, and 10 games throughout the course of the week. Now, I'm leaving this up here. If you're listening at home, not even at home, in your car, but if you're watching this, there's a reason why we have these color codes. The darker greens are obviously the days that it's just easy and you can stream in. The light green is where you can do it, but it's still good. Orange for us is like, for myself, Skitty and Mally, this is the harder days. And on the reds, it's damn near impossible. So straight away, if you look at the Friday, there's a glaring red day there. That's 12 games. That's 24 teams in the NBA. Now, your general 10-3 bench or your utility spot, whatever you want to call it. So if you've got your 10-3 or your 10-4, you're probably completely filled up. So it makes it really, really hard on that Friday. The Wednesday being 11 games and the Sunday being 10, it's tough, but it's possible. Now, of all these games here with that one, we want to be able to get our games in early of the week. And as you can see, there's a little bit more difficulty to stream on Friday and Sunday. That's going to come into a bit of consideration when we're talking about the back-to-backs in a second. Now, there are a few teams here who play 4 games this week. That's the Nets, the Bulls, the Cavs and the Mavs, the Pistons, Rockets, the Clippers, the T-Wolves, the Pels, the Knicks, the Thunder, the Suns, the Kings, Spurs, Jazz, like I said, an interesting team to keep our eye on, and the Wizards. Now, especially with the news of that Bub Carrington injury and that wrist injury there, and we all know what's going on. Alex Sarr's been playing better there, but Keyshawn George has been the ad. The Wizards, whoever knows what we're going to get out of those blokes. Bilal Coulibaly was picked up on draft day, and no one's dropping him anytime soon. And there's a lot of teams here with 4 games, and we can glean a lot of that. Like I said, the Suns are an interesting one early on, with Grayson Allen and Ryan Dunn being the ads there in the absence of the Kevin Durant injury. Our 3 gamers are the Celtics, the Hornets, the Pacers, the Lake Show, the Grizz, the Heat, the Bucks, the Magic, the shit show 76ers, the Trailblazers, and the Toronto Raptors. And unfortunately, for those of us who have Nikola Jokic or Steph Curry, the Nuggets and the Warriors only have 2 games this week. And that sucks, because if you look at this Friday again of the 12 gamers, that's when the Nuggets play their first game. They do not play for the first 4 games of this week, which is an absolute write-off. So straight away, all of us Jokic owners who are like, oh yeah, we picked up Jokic with the second pick. This is unfortunately one of the things with that schedule that you really don't like. There's also a couple of notes to make in here. There's the few games that even play their first game. Now, the first game, is on Wednesday for the Denver Nuggets. They play late in the week. And so with the Indiana Pacers, the Lakers, and the Memphis Grizzlies. So wasn't the Friday, it was the Wednesday and then the Friday. Those 2 tough days, that's when the Nuggets play their only games. Now, if you've got fringe guys in these teams, you probably can get rid of them for those days, especially with the Nuggets. If there's any fringy guy in there, even your Julian Strouth, you're probably looking at getting rid of him because he's not playing until later. So if your first game is on Wednesday and your last game is on Friday, there's no weekend action for you. You might as well put that forward. There's also a lot of breaks for a lot of games in here. Like Charlotte has breaks off between their Wednesday game, and they've got a whole bunch of games off between Wednesday and Friday. Portland takes time off. And again, there's all this time off for Denver as well. So there's a lot of guys that play 3-day breaks around the schedule, and it's just a lot to deal with. But there's also 1 game in 5 nights for a lot of teams. That's the Denver Nuggets. The last game of the week, Sunday to Thursday, you've got teams like the Atlanta Hawks. You've got the Charlotte Hornets. The Denver, the Monday and the whole Friday thing, the 1 game in 5 nights. Denver, the Tuesday to Saturday, whichever way you break it. They've only got that 1 game in there. And then the Golden State Warriors as well, because they're 2 games. It's really a wacky schedule, and it's not good. And there's 3 games, though, for 4 nights for some other teams. So this is where we can start to get a little more. So from Sunday to Wednesday, we've got a few different teams who can do this. We've got the Celtics. I made notes of this one. So if you're looking to finish off the rest of the back end of your week 3 strong and move into week 4, you can get some action from Sunday to Wednesday off these guys. And again, that's really important because there's 5 games on Monday and 8 games on Tuesday. So for me, I'm looking at how I can win my week on Sunday and really pivot that quickly into my week 4. And there are some teams that can help me do that. I made some notes on these guys. I wrote down the Celtics, the Pistons, the Rockets, the Bucks, the T-Wolves, the Knicks, the Thunder, the Magic. Again, loving here the situation of Mo Wagner in this case. Philadelphia 76ers, bring in your Kelly Oubre's and your McCains. Phoenix Suns, like I said, Allen and Dunn, good shouts. Portland Trailblazers, Time Lord's still around. Get him in quick. That's someone who you should be looking at. Sacramento Kings, Keon Ellis around in a whole bunch of waiver wires. Even Kevin Huerter, bring him in. And then the Washington Wizards, who's going to get the minutes for Bub Carrington? Let's find out with the announcements of the starting five lineup and pull them into it. This is where we want to attack those really quickly because I would like to personally attack my week early, and I would want to make if I have an ad to make on Sunday for my team, I would like to do that. I would like to get my first ad out of the way on Sunday, use none of my ads from week 4 to start my week off, make sure I'm getting value from one of these players to start my week, target it early and move on from there. Because there is a bit of a strength of schedule this week. And the best schedule is the Cavs and the T-Wolves. These guys are looking like absolute plays this week. And so we're looking to get the best case out of these guys, especially with who their opponents are. They've got the pick of it because they're playing up against the Chicago Bulls twice, the Sixers and the Hornets. So that's why the Cavs have an absolute killer schedule. And they've got the best schedule because they're playing the T-Wolves, the Portland Trailblazers in here. And the worst case here is the Jazz. Now, that's interesting. Why? Because I did say that we could get some value from the Jazz this week, and I do, because they've got a back-to-back to finish the end of the week. Now, although the schedule is a little bit jammed to finish up the back end of the script, Clarkson's come back and play all right. He's still available in some leagues, but he's playing better. But the away against the Kings and the Clippers this week maybe means that Lauri Markkanen could get a rest, and that's going to open up some void here. So although it's not a strong schedule for them, we can still get value out of guys around this one, especially in our back-to-back games, because the quality games here, 3 quality games this week, belong to the Mavs and the Jazz. So the days where the schedule works the best for us to be able to play players we want to add to our teams, 3 quality games falls to the Mavs and Jazz. So these are the guys who fall to me as guys who I want to bring in. 2 quality games for the Pels, Kings, Spurs, Celtics, the Hornets, Bucks, and Raptors. So with all of this schedule being broken down the way that it is, these are the guys who are going to give us the most quality games that we can get from our ads, where we can use them in our lineups. There's not a heavy schedule days for them, or we'll be able to get some burn for them. But especially this is where those Mavs and Jazz games come in really, really handy. The back-to-backs for this week are wacky AF. Sunday to Monday, as I said, we're going to get some Rockets, Thunder, Kings, and Wizards action. There's no back-to-backs then on the Monday and Tuesday. This is where that Tuesday to Wednesday action can fit in really importantly for us as we break down that one. We've got the Celtics, the Pistons, the Bucks, T-Wolves, Knicks, Magic, Sixers, Suns, and the Trailblazers. So that's where I said we can get that off. Now, this is where, again, on that Wednesday, there's the 11 games. And even though you make that out of Dunn on the Sunday and you get him or Allen and you can play him on the Tuesday, do you play him on the Wednesday? Well, with what you're looking at there, you probably will be able to at this point in time because there are no back-to-backs Wednesday through Friday. That means there's no Wednesday, Thursday back-to-backs, and there's no Thursday, Friday back-to-backs this week. And then the back-to-back schedule picks up again on Friday and Saturday with the Lakers, the Pelicans, the Kings, the Spurs, and the Raptors. That's tough because on Friday, as you can see, there are 12 games. So any of those teams you're looking at for the back-to-back schedule, it's like, why do you even bring them in? Not to play them? And then make one game use out of them? That doesn't make sense. So this is where I said earlier, you want to make sure that you're getting those a couple of ads in the beginning of the week, and then you want to leave them for that game on Saturday, make some ground here, and leave maybe one tactical stream if you can on your Sunday and break that one down there on the very, very last one. Because at the very end of it, as I said, those are the last games at the end of the week there on that Friday, Saturday, and you're only going to probably be able to, with the streamer, use one of those guys there. Now, on Saturday and Sunday, this means you could pick up a Hornets player like your Grant Williams. He's probably gone, though. Maybe even Maybe even someone like Saloon you pick up in there for right now. Trey Mann is injured. Maybe he comes back and gets some burn. Let's find out what his news is. But this is where I love that Mavs and the Jazz pickups like I spoke about earlier on. And then the Sunday, Monday to set us up for finishing week 4 strong into week 5. We're looking at the Atlanta Hawks, the Chicago Bulls, the Pistons, the Rockets, the Suns, the Pacers, the Clips, the Heat, the Knicks, and the Washington Wizards. And like I said here, my main targets then becomes this, putting these guys on my stream. These are, without a doubt, my absolute stream guys.
Target acquired.
Indeed, we do have Najee Marshall and Spencer Dinwiddie. They're going to get some burn, especially if Luka misses any game this week on one of those back-to-back sets. Dinwiddie is going to get much more of a run in the point guard position. In the Jazz, looking at Clarkson, Cody Williams, Flip Flipowski, and Johnny Juzang. Now, I don't know what's going on there. I could put down probably Collier as an ad, maybe because we do know Keontae George just missed out on the game on Saturday. Maybe Collier gets more of a burn. Larry Marketing can miss one, but John Collins is getting plenty of run and burn out there. If for any reason he is available, and I know that he is in some leagues, in 10 team formats right now, for me, he is an absolute must add. And what's a must add is us on Patreon. If you haven't done it yet, you've got to get down to it and get up to the Patreon.
Want to take your fantasy sports game to the next level? Insight Fantasy Sports are bringing you exclusive content all year round, such as preseason draft guides, player rankings, waiver wire advice, statistical deep dives, priority podcast questions, and tons more. So what are you waiting for? Get full access to the experts. Go to patreon.com/Insight Fantasy Sports and subscribe to Insight Unlimited today.
And also a big shout out to our sponsors again, to the Standard Squeeze, repping some of their apparel right now. Brand new, fresh out the box, Ash. Loving it. Some new apparel, the drink cups, your 4-in-1s, your travel mugs, your campers. It's coming up Christmas time really, really soon. And if you want to get the most bang for your buck, make sure you use promo code IFS15 to get 15% off all of your gear there. It is absolutely cracking. Get onto it. Get down to business with Insight. I am at NBAGWiz. We are at Insight FS, and we are just a click away on the subscribe button. Make sure you do it now. Give us a 5-star rating. Do all the things, and we'll catch you guys all soon. Be well. Start week 4 off strong, and then ride the wave at the end, guys. That's the best advice for you. Take care.